Hi, all. Welcome to another episode of Saturday Architecture. In the series of customer experience, in the first episode, we kind of tried to understand a little bit of what is customer experience, and then we moved on to who is the customer. Pretty interesting discussions. I would encourage you to look at those previous episodes. Moving on, having identified who the customer is, what we are trying to setting out to do is to change the customer experience for the better. The tough or the most important question is I need to understand what the customer's experience is today and I want to shift it to something else tomorrow. But it's become very hard in greenfield deployments where there is no IT solution or systems in place. For brownfield things where there's already something and you want to do it, at least you can have a benchmark. So let's discuss about how do you discover the customer experience as it exists today and how do you want to do it differently. So Raja, how do you go about tackling this when there is no
All right.
system in place?
All right. So let's start from the greenfield companies, right? The startup, the founder has an idea, and probably he got some investment, right? So let's start with that, right? So, but he don't know, he hasn't had any solutions right now, but he wants to build a solution. He have an idea, right? So as we covered how to get who are the customers and how to identify the customers and all those things are covered already. So let's talk only at the touch points of when we have to involve them and how it has to be involve them, right? So for last couple of years, there's a great transformation from customer delight to customer co-creation.
Go ahead, Raja.
Yeah. So as we discussed about the co-creation aspects of the customer, which is the transformation change that companies are looking for. So initially, some of the companies I can name, like OnePlus, is one of the company which actually does their product development as well as the marketing as well as the entire company ecosystem with the community activity. So they started creating the community first in terms of what best they can provide the superior mobile experience. Right, and it started as a budget phone with a superior mobile experience, but now it's a premium brand with great mobile experience equivalent to the branding of iPhone. So that happened not with one person or one company vision. It's actually through the community. So the preferences of co-creation in the green field is better to start with the community. So there is an idea and we have already identified the customers. Try to create the community around the customers and try to bring them as part of the company and co-create the features, co-create the journey with the customer, a small number of customers. I mean, there are a lot of ways to give an incentive for them in terms of the first adapters incentives, and even the pricing incentives. So there are a lot of other options how to incentive the customers or the community members so that they become participative of it. Another key information apart from incentive is actually we make them feel that their ideas are inside the product. They feel that it's their own brand. So that's the transformation we are bringing in. The customers feeling that it's their brand. That's the key transformation, and that activity happens through co-creation. One is OnePlus, which is happened in a very short span of time, and they just shifted their business to a different level. Other one is even IKEA. So what IKEA does is it doesn't give you the entire furniture, right? It just provides you the set of tools for you to create the basically, right? So and creates a feeling of empowered by the user. So how to make sure the customers are empowered, how to make sure the customer ideas are getting into the product, that creates a different version of the product itself, and that actually creates the environment where the R&D spending can be reduced and have more of a customer co-creation spending where you develop the product in alignment with whatever the customer needs are and just goes in there. So that's a beautiful space to be in for any company right now, and most of the even the bigger organizations are trying to create this through human-centric designs, and there are a lot of philosophical aspects to it. There are a lot of technical aspects to it in terms of how to involve the human-centric design elements into it. So big companies are also working on it, but from a greenfield perspective, that's a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity.
Interesting. Okay, so what I kind of see is one of the biggest challenges with getting access experience. Now, whether it's greenfield or brownfield, is degrees of separation of the technical team or the architecture team from the actual customer in most of the cases. So if you take a classical conventional services company, the first degree of separation is the end customer and let's say the level one support, where they call a 1-800 number. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there is a degree of separation between the level one support and their boss or the level one managers, right? That operation
Yeah.
layer, management layer of level one support. Then it moves on to level 2 support. So that becomes the third degree of separation. Then level 4 support becomes the sorry, level 4 means, what I mean is probably the business ops persons who are owning it, right? They become the fourth
Okay.
degree of separation. Then the IT operations within that customer becomes the fifth degree of separation. Okay. Sixth degree of comes the IT development management layer. The seventh degree is where the somebody from the tech team, probably the business architect or the analyst, they get in touch. The actual developer becomes is operating at the seventh or eighth degree of
Yeah.
separation. Okay. And in some cases it might be even more. And I've seen cases where developers have never heard the voice or seen the
Custom. Yeah.
customer in their entire life, right?
Yeah.
15-20 years they would have been in development, but they have never heard or seen an actual user of that application. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the challenge that we are faced with. So and if you look at, probably architects and business analysts have heard them 20-30% of the time on an average. They get some documents through somebody else's channels, but directly they haven't heard. So acknowledging that this is a challenge is a very key uh, aspect to solving this problem. So I think one of the things is the request where the architects or the tech team should create an opportunity to interact with the end customer. And I've seen that even a half an hour interaction with the end customers opens up light, opens up the mind and the imagination of different people around. The other thing in terms of a green field is actually doing customer journeys. The beautiful thing about a customer journey is you don't need an IT system to do a customer journey. If a customer is there and they are taking a journey in a scenario, then that customer journey can be made. There could be cases where it's a completely new customer journey. For example, let's say I'm developing a system, but I want the customer journey for the IT ops people. We won't be able to take it, right? Because the system is not there. Probably you have to do the first MVP and then do the customer journey after that. Okay, and then see how it goes. And that leads to your point that if you have the customer journey, then you have the touch points allowed. So acknowledging that I need to have some meeting with the end customer, create an opportunity for that as a part of project planning or whatever. Even I would say plan in architecture, right? Customer touch thing. It could be an architectural deliverable, right? Customer meetings, so much. Then customer journeys would be a good start. Then there are conventional things, right? Bug reports. For this is for brownfield issues that has come up, change requests that has come, people who want to do a change. Those are things which people already do. Nishant, do you have any ideas? How do you discover what the customer experience is today in greenfield or brownfield?
Yeah, from a greenfield point of thing, like usually, especially from a product development point of view, what we used to do is like once we identified this requirement, everything from, because like generally we do this we just analyze what exactly the customer's pain point from the overall industry point of view, because we are, as we are building the product from the overall industry point of view, what is the general pain points or limitations or pitfalls in the existing process, and what all, how we can resolve those pain points, and there we would identify potential features or the components that we can develop as a mini or micro products. Once an MVP is created for that, based on those things, we started involving customer from that point, which will be an existing customer, or will be a completely new customer. And then as currently what process we are trying to do is like, we will, customers and the product team will collaboratively work to discuss about, start discussing about the, or we will start demonstrating that MVP, and we will yeah, present the value that MVP, the final end state product will create to the overall customer experience, so that customer will start generating interest on that MVP, and they will start contributing. Like, yeah, this is the things. Okay, now these all the additional things that we, it will be add more value into this. So from that point, there will be a collaboration, serious collaborations between customer and the product business and architecture team, and based on a continuous feedback mechanisms and continuous demos, especially in these agile things, like from their feedback, we will have this very frequent demos in each in alternative sprint or each sprint, based on the complexity or the changes they requested. And in that model, currently actually the product will get into a better shape. Previously,
So,
what happens is like, especially in a greenfield scenario, or when we develop a product, the end-to-end things we will do completely with our imaginations on things. Finally, when we demonstrate that to customer, we will, the customer experience, or we will start getting feedback from the customer once the product is completely developed and deployed in the customer environment, and customer to say like, this is not what we are looking for. From there, the actual problem comes.
so interestingly, Nishant, so when you say previously, like how many years before are you talking about? And
Previously, in our case, actually around 2 years back.
oh, okay. So it's pretty recent. Your change is
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
recent.
correct.
Okay. So the other interesting thing which I wanted to know, so you say you have increased collaboration. I think that is a very important thing people would like to listen, is that we always had feedback from customer. There was some collaboration always there, right? Like you will present a design, you'll do some click throughs, and you would do it. It's been there for ages, right? We had a screen sign off, requirement
Yeah.
sign off, all that was there. So what is it that, I'm sure there is something different here? What is it that you are doing? Is it like when you say increased collaboration and things? What is that thing like? Is it the frequency of interaction, or what you expect from them? You set a different expectation. Instead of having a representative of the customer, do you actually have a customer? What are the differences?
Increased collaboration in the sense, previously also actually we had an account management person or a customer engaging person in the at the customer side, but the interaction with that people was generally less on those times. But currently, that person will act as a mediator, and they would exchange this information or the changes happening here to the customer, and take the customer pulse from the customer side, or from his meetings. And because he is designated for that, or he or she is designated for that, to generally manage a customer. And uh, and currently, what happens is like, they started involving in the product development phase also. Previously, what happened, once the product is fully developed and when we go for implementation only, they would come into picture.
Got it.
But currently, what happens is like, they started involving into the product development phase itself. That is a major change happened recently. And the second thing is like, to generate an interest, because ultimately, as I said, when we build a new component, a product, by considering the overall pain point or pitfalls in the existing process, But if customers start to invest, or even for a discussion, if he has to assign a person for a meeting, there is a cost or a development, or an effort from customers. To solve that issue, what we proposed a solution was like, the pilot customer would have a discount, and their amount will be paid off. I mean, they will off there will not be any additional amount they has to pay for that add-on feature of the new component. So actually it is a win-win situation. We will get the benefit from customer, genuine feedback, actual pain points that we can't find from the generally from the industry, but the exact requirement, we would get. We are actually creating a channel, clean channel between customer and the product development team.
That's excellent. How frequently do you look for this? What is the frequency of interaction, feedback? One with the account manager and another with the actual customer.
The account manager very frequent, even weekly meetings.
Weekly. Oh, okay. Okay.
And customer either by weekly or anyway maximum once in a month.
Once in a month. Excellent. Okay.
So if you see the transition, Kumaran, right? Especially on the touch points, right? 25 years back, it's more of a, if customer touch point will be at the CRM level. When say raise a request, somebody will answer, right? And 10 years back, it's more of the comments and feedbacks, like what you said, right? So you show the product to them and do the interview and get the feedback after showing the product, right? The third 5 years back, it's more of HCD methods, right? Like Nishant said, as part of the product creation, we get them inside and get their views, and even in the creation stage, right? Right now, it's into the branding stage. So the customer involvement happens, it increases way by way, and they are part of it in the entire life cycle of the product development right now. So they are in the current phase, they are also the brand of the product. So like a community, right? So that's it. That's an evolution. It happened so far on the customer touch points.
Nishant, you had something to say.
Yeah, I was just acknowledging what he said. Like the current thing is like they are actually part of the product brand ambassadors also. Like they also want to make that product live, because they are also part of that product.
Nice. So I think to kind of summarize, right? The key takeaways which I would see from our discussion is, first one, when we say co-create, but co-create actually means interesting things. I'm also connecting that co-create means the sales guy usually gets involved after the product or the solution is done. In this case, from day one, you have the salesperson as a part of it, because they know what they have to sell or what they need to sell. So from day one, have the sales involved. And second is...
sorry to interrupt. It's actually not salesperson, it's actually actual customers.
Okay, I was coming to that point next. So it is basically okay. So okay, yeah, okay. So the key takeaways are, one, in order to co-create well, we have the sales team from your internal side from day one involved. Typically, they get involved in the end. The second is to actually involve the end customers on a continuous basis, the actual end users. Probably the best way could be from the first MVP, because they need something to play with. And then I think Nishant and Raja shared ways, right? Incentives. I think Nishant had a tip, something like you could give a discount to the first customer or the second customer, so they are involved. And what I also caught interestingly is that when they give feedback and that feedback becomes a part of their feature, they kind of become your sales engine.
Absolutely.
Indirectly. So I think these are a few interesting things which I picked up. Raja, what would you be the...
in case of, greenfield, right? Let's start with that's where it started, right? As a founder, if I have to start a company right now, okay, if I look for what are the important capabilities I need to have when when I form this company. What are the important capabilities I need to have? Apart from founders, the first capability would be actually customer community, then the marketing, then sales, then operations, and those stuff. That's if I were to start a company right now, this is what I will do actually. Okay, that is a level of customer co-creation that we need to think about. It's evolved at this point of time.
Very nice. Nishant, what would be yours?
When this discussion happening, what I was thinking about is like, what would be the case, especially when a SaaS company assume they once they build the MVP and they are looking for a customer, and if the definitely there will be a waiting time, like they would there would be some period like they get the first contact with the customer who started who has an interest on this MEP and all. So until that point, whether we should continue with this product development with our imagination or our roadmap, or we need to because that's also an investment, and again if the customer interaction into this will be delayed, there is a more chance for the reworks, and we have to do a major changes on that. So that is a different story from this the overall the greenfield and brownfield point of view. The major takeaway is like the like every areas the agile aspects actually brought these kind of changes in my view, because why I am pointing to the agile aspect is like, as I said, we started interacting very closely, or this kind of development product development has started once we changed into agile mode. That there only, because this the sprint review, the demos, frequent demos, and we started with the demos and everything with the internal customers, and then we extended slowly to the external customers. That's the change happened, or that's the evolution happened in our case. So
Hmm.
from my experience, actually the agile methodology basically brought these changes on the on this aspect, like the customer started uh, customer also became the major stakeholder in the product development. And finally they also will be proud of the things like the win of that or the winnability of that product, and the features that finally they're in the product, because since they are also the part of the product development, and it's like they suggested something and finally they are going to use that. So they have also that product development feel when they involved in this thing. That's the main thing we can notice in the meeting center. Previously, like we said, like we have the authority, like this is the product, this should be only in this way, and we should align to this process of this product and all. But currently, it is not the situation. Customer, because they also suggested the changes and everything to the product development phase itself, and once they started using, they would have a different feel.
Hmm. Okay. So that's interesting. So basically, it's one they have suggested it, so the chance of them complaining about that becomes less. And
Yeah.
maybe they have expressed what they wanted, so they get what they are looking for. So it's more in alignment. Or even if there's a problem, it's more like a self awareness for them. Interesting. Great discussion. I thanks for joining. I would we'll connect again in the next episode.